Well, it's Monday, January the 5th, 2026. Good morning and welcome to your perfect day starter, the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
And I'm Jeffrey. A happy New Year to you because this is my first time on the show this year. Busy with other things, but it's good to be back right here to do what we love to do. Kayode.
Oh, indeed. And the year is turning out eventful already. We can tell you about what's playing out between the United States, Venezuela, and other global powers, and even countries that are far from it. Oh, yes, we're big on that this morning, particularly because, Jeffrey, we're not even done with the first 7 days of 2026, and we've seen something that extraordinary. I mean, yes, you see it in movies, you see it play out, it's happened sometime in the past, but happening in 2026 is a major one. So a lot of people are wondering, what more does 2026 hold if just in the space of how many days? 3 days or so, we've seen that. By the way, it was meant to happen 2025. So officially, we've not entered Trump's to-do list for 2026, right? So imagine what 2026 will hold.
It's interesting. It's making some of us to reanalyze what the concept of sovereignty really means. So in the 15th century, let's say 1648, what they call the Machiavellian sovereignty, which is basically a principle of equality of state where all of the heads of state are equal and you can't try one other head of state rather, in the other person's court or jurisdiction in that sense. Just respect for each other to put out restraint. But right now it looks like sovereignty of state is not absolutely sovereign because the global dynamics has actually changed. The United Nations is weaker than ever, and so it's now the world powers in the sense of nations that have nuclear warheads like America, like China, like Russia, and the other big countries that are now calling the shot, depending on who is involved in all of this. So that's why, Kayode, you're beginning to see all of this movement. So it reminds me of 1989, Manuel Noriega, the Panama president. Similar situation. Just
it was eventually gotten in 1990. At least,
so they came in, picked him up, took him to the United States to face justice within the United States. So it looks like there's always something happening between the United States and the South American nation. So we can go back in history. So this is the turn of Nicolas Maduro, and he's been boastful at some point, but right now, America has done him dirty without the approval of their own Congress. So there's a lot of things that are quite difficult to understand when it comes to geopolitics, but it's not entirely about oil and all of that. I think it's also about the pandering towards Iran that Nicolas Maduro had done. And if you know anything about world powers like the United States and Russia, which is why Putin is on the head of Ukraine, as long as you're pandering towards the enemies or their big enemies in any shape or form, whether it's just a nuance or directly, you're going to be in problem. Venezuela is just barely how many kilometers away from the United States, the south of the United States. So that's why we're seeing all of this. So now we're looking at what is going to play out in the Gulf of Guinea, where we all belong to. As far as the interest is concerned. So you're looking at China, you're looking at Russia, you're looking at France, you're looking at America. Those are the new United Nations. We don't have the balance of terror like all of them have to be able to wade off because no matter how powerful the United States say they are and how North Korea has upset them over the years, they can't dare visit North Korea because they know what is coming. So it just shows that sometimes what you're dealing with internally may just be beyond your internal crisis. You are just a victim of the nexus around the geopolitics that play out. But as you said, interesting days. It's going to be more interesting, a lot more eventful as far as 2026 is concerned.
Absolutely. And we'll help you make sense of all of those issues. What exactly is this Monroe Doctrine? We used to know it as the Monroe Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine. The U.S. is in charge of the Western Hemisphere. So who is in charge of the other hemispheres? But not to worry. We'll walk you through all of those issues on the show today. But what is of a bigger concern to us right here in Nigeria is that deadly very heinous attack in Niger State, Kasuandaji Market. And we can tell you that President Bola Tinubu, who is away in Paris as we speak to you right now, has put out a statement regarding that attack, which took the lives of at least 55 people. Now, the president in his statement said that I have directed the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Service Chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the Director General of the DSS to hunt down the terrorists behind the Kasuandaji attack and ensure they are brought swiftly to justice. The president goes on to say that these terrorists have tested the resolve of our country and its people. They must face the full consequences of their criminal actions, no matter who they are or what their intent is. They must be hunted down. In addition, those who aid, abet, or enable them will also be brought to justice. And he rounded off the statement by saying he has directed that all abducted victims be urgently rescued and that security operations around the vulnerable communities, especially near forests, be intensified. He asked that, this period actually demands our humanity, and we must stand together as one people as we confront these monsters in unison. United we can and must defeat them and deny them any sanctuary, the president has said.
I like the language of the president, but beyond this language, there should be action for bad behavior. It's one of the biggest problems we have, and the reason why some of these things keep happening. Niger State has been a victim in recent time. The multiple abductions, the record abduction, now this incident. I think the action of the president is what will speak louder than his words at the end of the day. We've heard this over and over and over. So whether there are people with agenda, people that are sabotaging the government, or just criminal elements that are consolidating or whatever they are doing, we want to see their bodies in body bags. We want to see them face justice if they are caught alive. We want to see expedited action in court to make sure that these guys are deterred from this heinous crime they keep committing time and again. The lives of our people are becoming cheaper and cheaper every other day. And we're speaking to some security experts. They've been saying that this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's very worrying to believe that that is true. But if you follow history of Nigerian politics and building up to elections, you know that that is not far from truth. But what can the government now do to show that their life is not just about election cycle and how to win, because they're already consolidating on that. Elections have already started. Protect the lives of our people. Action from the government. I'm happy he's directed the CDS and all the people in charge. I do not feel that's a statement I really don't like to read. I'm here not because my chairman called me to say, Jeff, you have to be at work. I just now have to wake up. I was on the show last night and I'm here this morning. It's my job. So I don't understand when they say I have directed. Directed to do your job? No, I don't, it doesn't make sense to me. Just get the job done. That's my two cents.
And it sounds really simple, and that's what the people are asking for, particularly those who have been at the receiving end time and again. And in case you're wondering, Niger State again? Oh yes, the Papiri abduction last year was also in Niger State, just the next local government area, in Borgo local government area, where hundreds of students and even some of their teachers were kidnapped from that school. And now the attack happened in Kasondaji, which is a Borgo local government area, just right next to the local government where Papiri was. That's in Agwara local government area of Niger State. And if you look at the map, it's close to Kebbi State. Then you have Sokoto State on top. So a lot of people are trying to link the bombardment that happened in Sokoto State. There you see Kebbi. By the way, Borgo local government area is to the west of Niger State, so just at that edge. So you see Kebbi is on top, and on top of Kebbi, you have Sokoto State. So it's been linked that, when we saw the bombardment in Sokoto State, then the terrorists were dislodged and they moved to Niger State. But again, if you link it to the Papiri incident, you remember the president actually, in his conversation with Khan, said a lot of people are asking what happened to the terrorists. Well, all those rhetorics doesn't quite matter as far as the end justifies the means, was what the president said. So a lot of people are saying maybe if we had seen more decisive action, or at least if there was some sort of closure to what happened in Papiri, the abduction, which is in Borgo local government area, we may not have seen this attack in Borgo. But the point is the government needs to be forthcoming with details. What exactly happened? So people will be on your side in this fight and not begin to say, something is off here, so let me step back. It's important to be
I just also believe that truth is, security issues are not as simple as we look at them. To be very fair. By the end of the day, that's why you got the job, to get it done. Until you protect the lives of people and their property as enshrined in the Constitution, you haven't done any work. If you like, build anything you want. That's the call it the primary responsibility of any government. So if I also know that sometimes there are saboteurs in the works who just want to make the government look bad. when you lead a country like Nigeria as complex with diverse interests, you must be ready for people who want to make the government look bad. And that should not be an excuse not to get the job done. So I hope that the direction, which I believe shouldn't have been because they should know their job, the direction of the president to the powerful men within our armed forces, the leadership, will get some job done. Kill these guys if you get them in combat. Arrest them. Prosecute them quickly. Let them face life sentences, sentenced to death, by whatever the law prescribes. Because right now, lives are just like that. People don't take those words of I command and do this seriously. Let's see action, 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 so that the lives of our people can be preserved. Kadi.
Oh, absolutely. Just before the president now put out the statement which you just referred to, in fact, 15 minutes before, he put out this post on his X social media handle at official Abat. And he said, this afternoon, I had a private lunch with His Excellency President Paul Kagame of Rwanda to discuss the current state of world affairs and advancing Africa in an ever-changing global landscape. So this meeting is set to have happened in Paris. So we're clear where Europe is now, or at least where in Europe the president is. France, Paris. A lot of people saw that coming already. But what got more people talking, Jeffrey, from this picture is the AI badge on the bottom right corner of the president's image, the Grok, ex-Grok badge. And a lot of people are thinking, so is this AI generated, or did you use AI to adjust something on it? But man,
you're the tech guy.
Well, even X itself has put out a community note on this particular post, a context saying that while a meeting between Mr. Tinubu and President Kagame is reported to have held in Paris, the image in this post appears to be AI generated, given the Grok AI badge at the bottom right corner. So for people who
don't know what a Grok AI badge is, what is it?
Grok AI badge is some sort of watermark that helps you know if a particular image has gone through the AI process.
Okay.
Sort of like full disclosure, because a lot of people can't tell the difference between what is real and what is not. So most of this company, whether it's Gemini, Grok, and all of that, they always put a badge just there. A lot of people crop it out, but I don't know, the president's social media handler did not crop it out, maybe for full disclosure yet again. So we're not exactly sure which role AI played in this image. It could have been to fine-tune something, remove something, or whatever.
For me, what is still very distasteful from the presidency, which is totally unacceptable, is the fact that we had to know how many days after. This is almost 1 week or so after he left Lagos for Europe. That we've always suspected that he's in France.
Yeah.
France is his destination of choice whenever he wants to rest, take holidays. So I don't know why the presidency will be hiding such information. So what is special about him being in France? We already know he's always going to France. I'm sure at the end of this presidency, we need to count how many times President Bola Tinubu has actually visited France. So if France is his ultimate destination of choice, because that's where he relaxes, he can put his thought together, because running a country is not easy, it's fine. But the handlers of the president not telling us where our president is, just telling us Europe as though Europe is one country. Europe has about 44 countries, by the way. So it left us in the mood of suspense. Because when you do that, and this is my advisory to the president, and I'm sure they know this even better. When you do that, you give room for speculations and all of that. I keep saying it, the president, whether he has an ailment, terminal or not, at his age, he has what we call age-related proclivities. So time and again, he needs to take that break to recuperate, to face the challenges of nation building, which is not an easy job. But you now running it like it's a secret cult, or I don't know how to, forgive my language here. The president is traveling to take a break in France. He's going to, that is as simple as that. Why do you leave us in the mood of speculations? And then we now have to see a picture with him and Kagame in the same France that everybody suspected. It looks like you're taking all of us for granted. So next time he's traveling, we will just say he's going to France. If you don't tell us, we insist he's going to France.
Until otherwise stated.
Yes, anytime the president is traveling, I'm going to say it in good authority, the president, if he's in Europe, I'll say he has gone to France. Let them say he's wrong. The only way you say he's wrong is to tell me where exactly he is, because he's our president. If anything happens to him, he's our president. So we need to know where he is. It's now public property. Is that what they call it?
Absolutely.
That's my only, whatever meeting, outcome of that meeting, we're going to find out later. And I think that day meeting, Paul Kagame and all of those guys, gentlemen who are leading Africa, I think they need to sit down and have a conversation around themselves.
Yeah.
Some of the old people in government need to go, beginning with our neighbor Paul Biya. I hope they're having those kinds of conversations. Well, I don't want to go there because it really gets me upset, the kinds of things we see in Africa. What's next?
Well, it's a lot to wrap your head around, but you just look at the, in case you're wondering, what is this grok? It's just at the bottom right corner of the image.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing the grok.
You can see that. That's a grok watermark. So in the interest of full disclosure, perhaps next time, crop it out. Or let us know what was done to it, because it's also important in this age of, deep fake.
Whether you're shielding something.
Exactly. This can actually qualify, some can say this is a deep fake, or this is fake news, right? Because it's already there. So let us know, did you use it to remove something? Did you use it to smoothen someone's face? Or did you use it to give it color? It's important. So a lot of people don't fly around because, oh boy, Jeffrey, it is a riot on social media for even X, the platform, to put a context to it. You'll understand why.
Those riots would definitely, if the handlers had simply said he was in France, I'm telling you, it will reduce what you're reading. The whole AI team will now be, okay, what is the state of this and that? But anyway, let's get to our next conversation. But we have an outlook for you on the program today. It's not the first day of the year. I'm almost saying first day because I just came back.
It's the first full week in the year.
First full week of the year. So we have a lot to look at, including our state of the nation. But we'll be right back in just a... Okay. Kaide, we're starting with where?
That boat incident. Yes, we'll talk about the incident in Niger State, but the boat incident also hogs the headlines in Yobe State, where 25 people were killed in a boat accident, while 14 are missing in Yobe State. We'll be speaking with the Secretary of the State Emergency Management Agency. Really a black day in northern Nigeria over the weekend.
Absolutely. There's a lot more coming on the program as well. State of the Nation. Sowore, former presidential candidates in the last election, will be joining us to examine all of the issues that were raised today as far as Nigeria's leadership is concerned. So it's not a good time to be away. It's a good time to stick around to make sure you hear his views on the state of the nation.
And very tricky times for the world, I must say. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro captured by the U.S. and is to be arraigned on narco-terrorism charges. We'll be discussing the implications of this invasion for global politics.
Absolutely. So that's our outlook for today on the program. And as a matter of fact, in just a moment, we will bring you what our dailies right here are saying with our guests and our analysts. Mr. Dakis will be joining us virtually in just a moment. Stay with us. Is a journalist joining us virtually from London. Mr. Akitobi, nice to have you on the program. Or are you back, in case I didn't get a memo?
I'm in transit. I'm in transit. By the time this show is over, I should be landing in Nigeria, I tell you.
Oh, fantastic.
Mr. Akitobi, you're not in Europe.
Yeah,
you're in a specific place. Right.
No. I'm not in Europe. I'm specifically in London, England, Great Britain, United Kingdom.
It's important to know.
Yeah, thank you for being clear. Well, I almost wanted to say something as well. Let's go to the Daily Independent newspaper, Mr. Akitobi. The lead is leading with Nigeria's hurdle is converting hot money to real growth. That's experts. Nigeria's hurdle is converting hot money to real growth. So we can see some of the statements being credited to what is being written here as inflows surge to multi-year highs and reserves swell. Analysts warn that Nigeria's real challenge lies ahead, converting hot money into real growth, into durable confidence and long-term, what's the word here, growth. So Nigeria's hurdle is converting hot money into real growth. Basically, more like a signal to say, how do we make the most of this temporary Father Christmas, if you will, because that's what hot money is. FPIs, foreign portfolio investments, not FDIs in that sense. What do you make of the story?
Well, see, the thing is, yeah, a lot of money may be flowing into the country from abroad, but what purpose is it serving? When they say FDI, foreign direct investment, what the notion generally is that money should come to fund infrastructure development, social services, and things like that. But a lot of the money that's coming into the country now is just rent seeking, because our stock exchange, our government financial instruments, they're all paying record amounts of interest. So what happens is overseas money is flowing in, exploiting the profit margins and flowing back out again. That's why it's hot. It's not staying. It's not the kind of foreign direct investment that will build factories and build manufacturing plants and fund railways and fund oil refineries and things that will improve our human development index. These are all just what I would call carpetbaggers who are seeking exploitative profit margins, and who just see that, well, for now, Nigerian government treasury bills, Nigerian government bonds, Nigerian stock exchange are paying record margins, so let's go in and take advantage of that. And as soon as with profit taking, the money goes back offshore. So that's why it's referred to as hot. Because that notion hot, some people might misinterpret it to mean illegal, laundered money, illicit funds, government stolen money. Not necessarily in this particular context. What the financial experts refer to as hot money is money that just quick in and quick out to capitalize upon margins, and doesn't really have any substantive effect on the country's development. That kind of money doesn't help, really. What we need where we are now, you can see how much we are indebted to China in terms of infrastructure loans. Everywhere you look, China is building all our stuff, and they're not building it for free. So what basically, to cool this money down, is essentially to encourage it to stay, and not just do a quick in and quick out, stay in a way that it will serve useful purposes to the development of the country. So it's a big hurdle how to convert that. Not being an economic expert, I can't say, do we reduce the attractiveness of our financial instruments so that those who want to come here come for more long-term investment, and not just wanting to turn their money around overnight, which is what is happening now. So what are the solutions? I really don't know. I guess our economic experts are better at prescribing those kind of remedies. But what I do know is that it doesn't all go well for us. We hear that, yes, FDI is up, foreign reserves are up, but what benefits is it serving us? It still goes down to all this issue of statistics. We don't eat statistics. The numbers look good, but what are the substantive effects on the ground? The hot money doesn't help. It's not helping, contributing to our development in any way, and it's a real challenge to figure out how to convert it to substantive gains on the ground. And I guess the CBN, the Ministry of Finance, and all the other financial gurus have a lot of work on their hands to figure out how to resolve this issue.
Right. I think it's a major issue we have to figure out for 2026, because it looks like these are extraordinary times. But this Nigeria is next with the big story on the attack in Niger State. Terrorists strike Niger community market, kill dozens, abduct many. Attackers struck from forests, that's what the residents are saying, and Tinubu orders manhunt and rescue of victims. The president had to release a statement yesterday, just after he put up that picture on the front page of This Nigeria. And he says, when I've given marching orders to the very top, the security echelon, to make sure that they go after these terrorists. It's on page 2, Mr. Akintobi. For some, particularly state governments, they're saying, well, it's what happened in Sokoto that is responsible for this. But we won't forget in a hurry that there were abductions just late last year, in the next local government area. So what do we make of this, in spite of the government's resolve?
Well, it's not a good welcome to 2026. It's been one day, one problem after another. Apart from this Niger State incident, then we have the Yobe incident with people drowning, and of course we had the Anthony Joshua mishap just in the aftermath of the New Year. So it's not been a very good start to 2026 in terms of security and safety. And I worry, just like Jeff mentioned at the beginning of the program, that the president has to be directing at this stage. I would assume that the directions have been in existence and they've been very clear. I mean, what was the point of bringing in a new Minister of Defense? What was the point of reshuffling the service chiefs? If not that they already had a clear mandate for the president to be saying, I directed them to go after the terrorists, bring them to book. I directed them to find all the victims that have been abducted and get them released. I think that it's a bit of just playing to the gallery, because the people who are responsible for doing those tasks already have a very clear and strong mandate, and I don't doubt that they know their jobs. If at this point they are being needed to be directed, instructed, or informed, then there's no business being in that job with the level of insecurity we are facing. And as you said, this Niger State incident is one that's just in the very next local government, where we just managed to get the children released and their teachers released a short while ago, and almost immediately after, it's as if these terrorists are daring the government, saying that we know you can't really do, you don't have the wherewithal to bring us to book or to, they seem to be thumbing their nose at governments. Otherwise, to go back into the same place that you just recently made away from, and that we've just managed to quell and rescue the victims, to go right back the following week or a couple of weeks later, it's a level of impunity and boldness that speaks to the fact that there's a lot more going on beneath the surface that we're not quite clear about. I've always had this belief that despite all the speculation and the assumptions and the guessing game, that this thing is a lot more complex and deeper than we really understand on the surface. It can't just be people randomly just because they are sociopaths or psychopaths just walking into villages and eliminating people. I think it's beyond land grabbing. I think it's beyond mineral resources. I think it's even beyond the way Boko Haram started, which was a religious fervor. There's a lot more to this that we don't understand. We've heard rumors that traditional leaders are complicit. We've heard rumors that the military is compromised. We've heard rumors that people in government are partly responsible for this, and some governors were funding some of these bandits. There's a lot more, because this is just not random. It's just not some people waking up in the morning and having some devilish urges and going out to create mayhem. This is systemic and systematic, and it is chronic because it's been ongoing for way too long. I'm not happy that we're starting 2026 with this. I'm especially not happy that those who are charged with handling this have to be directed and don't just get off their duff and go and do this and make it happen. But bottom line is, this has happened, it has happened. As Jeff said, what we need is action, not so many words. I saw the fancy statement the president released, all nice and graphic design and in the colors of the country, and it looked like he was releasing a Happy New Year message. And I said, we don't need graphic artists' work for this kind of an announcement. There's fire on the mountain, and it doesn't need to be treated with levity. I'm sorry. And so, yes, he's given the direction. Let us, as Jeffrey said, get to the bottom of this. Let us find the people responsible. Let us bring them to book, whether terminally or prosecutorially. Let them be held accountable. Let us secure the entire country. All those who've been abducted, let's bring them back. It sounds easy to say, but there are people whose job it is to do. Jeffrey was on TV late last night doing a program. He's here this morning because it's his job. Does he not still want to be in bed at this time making up for lost sleep? He knows his job, recognizes his job, and does what he has to do. So let those who have been charged with handling this matter and who are being paid for it and whose responsibility it is. I'm sure they know their job descriptions, and they know, when they sworn in the oath that they took, So enough talk. Let's see more of action, please. Nigeria is bleeding. Our people are crying, and people can't sleep with their two eyes closed anymore. It's not good, and this is not a good way to start 2026.
Okay. Maybe one more on the front page of this Nigeria before we start to allow you to travel. And that has to do with just by the right-hand side. I think that should be your own right-hand side, I guess, where you have 2027 Rivers Guba, why we stand with FCT Minister Wike, Rivers State APC, Rivers Ijaw People's Congress, others speaking thank you, LGA tour. So, Mr. Akintobi, the grandstanding, the never-ending political drama of Rivers State has, the hostilities have resumed between the governor and FCT minister. Is about who is more. It looks like everybody's trying to tell the president, I'm more loyal than you, or you're more loyal than me. But it looks like the FCT minister is also touring and giving a signal that, look, in case you think this governor is going to bring result for you, I am the man with the structure. And so there have been talks, indirect and direct talks. What do you make of this never-ending drama? It looks like the argument now is to the effect of there was an agreement that he's not going to run for a second term. It looks like there's a U-turn, and that is generating a lot of trouble.
Yes, but Mr. Wike is not in the APC, so how he can be dictating what is going to happen to the APC and who is going to give its ticket to, it still befuddles my mind. He's saying that the fact that Governor Fubara defected to the APC does not mean that he will automatically get the ticket, but he's not an APC person. He's avowed that he's in the PDP and will continue to be in the PDP. So I don't know how he can be prognosing into the affairs of an opposition party in his state, in spite of the fact that he's fraternizing with that opposition. As long as he's not declared for the APC, he has no moral right to be speaking about the internal affairs of the APC. But yes, this is 2027 at play at the end of the day, and it's still a tussle between two juggernauts. The same thing that eventually led to the state of emergency, the same thing that has led to the rancor from the beginning. That problem has not been resolved. And I recall on this very program, we said it then, even when we saw them standing with President Tinubu and shaking hands, we said it then that it looked like that was just a temporary reprieve, that it was just a pause in the hostilities. It wasn't as if it was a permanent resolution. Well, we've been proved right, because just a few weeks after the governor was back in office, the fissure has ruptured again. And the way we see it now simply is that I think by virtue of the fact that Governor Fubara has defected to the APC has supported him. They have listed him as their leader, as the leader in Rivers State today. In fact, when they issued him the party card, they issued him number 001 in Rivers State. So Yiltwada, the chairman of the APC, said it openly at a press conference that Governor Fubara is now the leader of APC in Rivers State. Well, that seems to not be sitting well with Governor Wike. And of course, he owns the structure. All 23 local government chairmen that are in there, he put them in there. So he's doing a tour. He calls it a thank you tour. But he's going around all the local governments, talking to the people and telling them that Governor Fubara will not be an ideal person because he doesn't keep to agreements. He's a betrayer. He's, so it's at the end of the day, it is godfather, godson issue. Governor Wike has claimed that he put Governor Fubara in office and they had certain agreements, and Governor Fubara is not keeping to those agreements, and Governor Wike himself is not handing off his hands off Rivers matters. So it's a complicated issue. But for now, the reality on ground is that Fubara is in the good books of the APC, which is at the center, and which is also in charge of Rivers State. Remember that the House of Assembly also, the majority of them have moved to the APC, including the Speaker. Okay. So Governor Fubara is protected from impeachment for now. He's got the favor of the center, and he's got the State Assembly in the same party. So let's wait and see. Interesting.
It's not difficult to see all the things that play out in Rivers State. The House of Assembly members are loyal to the FCT minister. I don't think that's a secret, whether they're in APC or PGP. Rivers is a complicated policy. Mr. Akintobi, we must thank you for coming on the program. Mr. Akintobi is a journalist joining us in transit, according to him, on his way
Absolutely.
from London. Thank
on the
you
way
so
home.
much. Yeah.
On the way back to warm weather and sunny skies.
Yes, I understand it's been very cold in London, so...
you don't want to know. It's snowing, it's ice on the ground, it's windy, it's chilly. I'm wearing 5 layers as we speak. Here I come to sunny Nigeria, most beautiful country in the world. God's own country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Up Nigeria.
Up Nigeria.
Thank you so much. From there, we switch gears straight up to what has played out in Yobe State, the boat mishap that has happened, leading to the loss of lives. Let's bring in our guest, Executive Secretary of the Yobe State Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Mohammed Goje. Mr. Goje, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning.
Good morning to you. I can see it's bright and early where you are, but I'm sure the mood of the city and the area and the entire state is not in a very good one due to what has happened. But perhaps the first thing we would like to know from you is the latest update in terms of casualty and efforts at maybe recoveries or rescue. What is the status of the status of things right now?
Thank you very much. His Excellency Governor Malabu directed us to be on foot and be ensure that the search and rescue continued. The latest update is 29 bodies have been recovered and have been buried according to their respective rights, and 13 were safe. Those in the hospital were also discharged. So far, the key challenge is we are still searching for remaining 8 to 10 bodies that we presume are part of the boat Mishap. There are approximately 52 bodies suspected to be in the boat. We have recovered 29, 13 have been discharged, and we're now searching for 8 to 10. Presently, I'm inside one of the hospitals where one of the person was admitted and discharged yesterday.
Oh dear. So the death toll has now risen to 29, as you've said. We understand that the victims are believed to be fishermen who are returning to their base. Nguru is about 200 plus kilometers from Damaturu. What is primarily responsible for this incident? I mean, they're the usual suspects, overloading, adhering to proper safety. So what is responsible for this?
Yeah, the victims are coming from Adiani village in Guri local government area of Jigawa State, heading to Garbi in Guru local government area of Yobe State. And most of them, not all of them are fishermen. They came, I think, from market and some of their businesses. There are young girls and women who are also from wedding and other activities coming back home. So, and almost 80% of them are from Yobe State. So, but then from preliminary report indicates that the cause of the Mishap is due to overload of the boat, because evening time is around 7:48 p.m. So maybe it's the last boat that is leaving that community in Jigawa State to Yobe State. So it's basically due to overload. But our deep dive assessment indicates that in the last 40 to 50 years, there hasn't been an accident in that route. But of course, maybe overuse, overload, and maybe precautionary measures are taken. Unfortunately, there was not any single life jacket in that boat. But then as I speak to you now, His Excellency, the governor has directed that we should reach out to our sister agency, NEMA, and also advance communication with the Ministry of Blue Economy and Ministry of Police Affairs to ensure that either Marine Police or either the improvement in terms of training of the drivers, because these are two communities that they have good relationship, businesses, and all that things that happens for decades, for years. So you can't stop that in the time, but you can provide the precautionary measures and ensure that people's lives are safe.
So walk us through some of the immediate measures, because sometimes we get to, we're supposed to be used to seeing mishap happen maybe in riverine area in the south where we have a lot of body of water. But I know in northern Nigeria they have several other places. But what do you think, in your view, is responsible for this recurrent incident? Yes, we've talked about the issue of life jackets. So my question is, if we know the problem, why are we not trying to mitigate against it as much as possible?
I think providing life jackets for safety and emergency at the border points is not very enough. But institutionalizing the use of the life jacket, ensuring that the commercial riders are abiding by the laws, and policing the waterfront. And this is what I'm saying, that we're looking at options of now reaching out to the Ministry of Police Affairs so that the policing of the waterfront through Marine Police will be deployed, which is very rare in the northern part of the country. But of course, with growing population, with emerging needs, and the commuting between the two communities, these are things that we have to deploy in the meantime. And this goes beyond providing life jackets to the community, because you can't provide life jacket to everybody, and you can't ask everybody to buy a life jacket. But then once they are in position, we make sure that those that will board the canoe must wear the available life jackets, and that should be institutionalized.
Well, thank you so much. The whole idea of bringing you in, Mr. Goje, is to get an update as to what is playing out. But please, as soon as you have any further update, we'll be right here to make sure the people are aware of it. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Goje.
We are searching the remaining bodies, and we'll update you as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Executive Secretary, Yobe State Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Mohammed Goje. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll switch gears. I'll be talking about everything that we can talk about within the time we have, and that is the state of the nation. So we're talking politics, we're talking the economy, we're talking security. With Sowore, who is a former presidential candidate and an activist, he joins us right here in our Lagos studios. Join us again.
We're joined on the program this morning by Mr. Sowore. A lot of people know him as an activist, but he's also a politician, a presidential candidate of ACE in the 2023 election, and a publisher as well. Good morning, Mr. Sowore. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning. Happy New Year to your crew here.
I wish you the same, Mr. Sowore. It's good to see you in Lagos.
Yes.
I must say, for a lot of people, wait, Lagos? What is going on? But let's start first things first. For a lot of political leaders, they always do this New Year message. They have a message where they wish their supporters and the nation a new year, and then there's a direction for them. You know, they always target this year, this is what will happen. We've not seen you do that. What's your New Year message to your people?
Well, it depends on what you do and who you are. If you really never stopped last year, you just kind of migrate to the New Year's, doing what you know how to do best. The New Year was not just a new year for people like us in terms of the calendar. It was a period that things were happening. On, I think, December 25th, this country got hit with missiles from the U.S. And by January 1st, one of the most significant events on the global stage happened, which was the kidnapping of Maduro from Caracas. So I have been just rolling along with events happening in Nigeria, such that I'm not like a priest who has to give you prophecies. I just speak along, I transition you from one day to the other, and just let you know that we never slept, we didn't go anywhere, which is, yeah. So it's, for us, it's a calendar.
Right. The work continues.
Yes.
There's really no New Year-ish. No. Okay, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Of course, for a lot of presidential candidates, politicians, they usually do that. In this year, I want to wish my supporters the very best. This is a year of this and that. But let's talk about the real issues. Yes. Nigeria, as you mentioned, is facing lots of challenges, particularly when it comes to insecurity.
Yes.
We're just still discussing and reeling from what played out in Niger State, in Kaswandaji Market, a Borgo local government area. We understand that they've counted 55 bodies, and the president has released a statement. The government has also said, well, it follows the bombardment happening in Sokoto. So that is what happened. That's what led to this, Sokoto, Kebbi, then we have Niger State. For you, what is missing in this whole puzzle of trying to fix insecurity in Nigeria?
so many people want to make us feel that the insecurity in the country is some Byzantine affair, that you just don't know where to hold it from. But what's been lacking, and as I've always said, is leadership. And when you talk about leadership, it means that there's somebody at the top who is giving direction, directives, and who is organizing, who is synchronizing all the pieces for, regarding insecurity. That's missing. And what you just then have is different sections of the security agencies in the country doing whatever they want and whatever they like. And this is fueled by incompetence, it's fueled by corruption, and it's fueled by their inability to work together. So you can imagine, till today, Nigeria was bombed by the U.S. on December 25th.
Well, it was 24th our time, the 25th the U.S. time.
Yes, well, we woke up to it.
Yeah.
They call it a Christmas Day.
Exactly.
Gift to Nigeria. Nobody, at the highest level of security in the country, including the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, has come out to tell you what happened. Where did the bombs land? Who did they target? Was there any mop-up operation after that? All you heard, as you just mentioned, is that, there's bombardment in Sokoto and the bad guys just moved down to Niger. How do you bombard people not making preparation for where they'll go next, and how to ensure that they don't get past the perimeter that you must have put in place for them? The other part that's missing is, intelligence gathering. And again, it comes to leadership. Nobody can tell you in this small country, Nigeria, because I hate when people refer to Nigeria as a big country. Nigeria is not big. Nigeria is just one state. The size of Nigeria is less than Alaska in the U.S. Nigeria is just twice the size of California. And here we are, country of 200 million people, plenty of security agencies. Nobody can tell you who is moving where. And it is because also we have refused to modernize. And what is modernity in terms of, modern warfare? It's the use of drones. The only time we heard that we had a drone, it crashed somewhere in, I think, Yobe State recently, which tells you that it's probably not a real drone, or maybe they went and bought a used drone in Europe and brought it here. Incompetence. I'm not saying that these things don't happen even in some of the most sophisticated stages. So, and then on top of this, you have complete silence regarding the location of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And then they came out with a picture yesterday of the man having lunch with Kagame, which is now also in dispute, that it could have been an AI-generated photograph, or they were trying to enhance it and forgot how to use it. And over 50 people die in Yobe. No statement from the from the office of the president, until, of course, yesterday when I challenged them. I said, "You don't have a president. We don't know where he is." Almost immediately they started reacting. So that tells you that the country is pilotless. I don't want to say that Nigeria is on autopilot, because autopiloting is actually a sophisticated mode of flying a plane. So you can't reduce Nigeria to autopilot. If Nigeria were to be on autopilot, it would be doing better than the kind of pilots we have now. So what this tells you is that you're lacking in leadership in all facets of your life. Everybody's just trying to get by, and we then react to events that suits our fancy or that excites us the most. 2 people die with on the convoy with Attorney Joshua. It dominates the news. 52 people died in Yobe, or
Niger.
We don't really care, because those ones are just statistics.
Then 29 died.
And then 29, capsized in the boat. We don't really care. And I was watching the state emergency official who was here. I don't want to castigate him, but this is very puerile, the way he's reacting. Maybe they should use, life jackets or not. We don't know whether there's a marine police in the area and all that. You don't play with life in that manner. And then when 29 people, all the people that died in Caracas, that's become a major global news, or 24, according to records that we have. And we're still talking about it since January 1st. And we're forgotten about the 29 and the 52 that died here. Nobody knows where the terrorists came from. Nobody knows where they're headed next. And Kogi, Kwara is still in the throes on a daily basis, in the throes of kidnapping and terrorism. And we're just here hoping that it doesn't happen to us. And that is not how to run a country. I'm not saying this just so that I can fulfill the quota of people who come on your shows to condemn the government. I'm just saying realistically that we are in a deep mess in this country, and it's no longer a joke.
So for you, if I understand you very well, this is not a problem of capacity, it's a problem of leadership failure. Is that what you're saying?
Also, absolutely. Because when you talk about the capacity of the security agencies to respond to the issues that we're talking about, we have men who can at least go out there. But the question you should ask yourself is, are your men going after terrorists? That is the security agencies. Or are they going after TikTokers, which is, complete loss of priority? Didn't we talk about last year that we are withdrawing policemen so that they can go to the front lines to confront what policemen should do? No, if they withdrew anybody, it was just a few people and they are back to work. In fact, there was a joke towards the end of the year about policemen who were asked to withdraw from VIP duties, who went and started dressing like hunters. Some of them wearing suits so that they can, evade scrutiny. And some of them were asked to return their guns, and they went and paid bribes and got it back. So that's the issue, and that's, you see, the reason why people like me always get so upset. I get into trouble every day with this, because one of the issues I can't forgive about Nigeria is that you have the Nigerian police of about 350,000 people, men and women, who are not put to productive use. So you end up having these policemen just extorting money on the highways. We have not advanced to the stage, or we have not even scaled to the point that police can do police work. Or wherever we scale, the police work they're doing is anti-policing. So I don't go after the regular policemen, I go after their boss. And he was so upset with me, I got arrested 4 times last year. And the one in Lagos, the joker in Lagos, declared me wanted, because they know that these are the real issues that should be discussed. Because if you have the policing right, the internal security of the country will be taken care of. What am I trying to say? If I'm driving a car with somebody in my trunk, kidnapped from Lagos, with proper policing, I shouldn't get past in front of your station here, because somebody would detect that.
How?
Yes.
How do you think they will detect that?
Well,
through a checkpoint?
No, it's not by checkpoints. You see, one of the most important things that policemen use in detecting crime is psychology. If a policeman sees you, a proper policeman sees you, and you are acting strange, they'll stop you. You don't need roadblocks to do that. We have roadblocks, but the roadblocks are not meant to block crime. They are meant to extort. You should get that clear.
The revenue collection points.
It's not revenue in the sense that it doesn't go to the federal government. There's some, you see them all the time. Now they even give change when they collect bribe, depending on who is bribing them. Policemen on the highway I was on the Lagos Shagamu or Lagos Ore Road before New Year's Day. Those policemen on the highway will accept anything. I saw policemen who were given drinks, and they were putting it aside and waving at the person who gives. So if that person,
Christmas,
maybe that's their own way of getting their own hampers on the highway. But what is most terrible about it is that when I was growing up, and I first came to Lagos in 1986 from Ondo State, police checkpoints had first warning, placards. And then by the time you get to the checkpoint itself, it says very clearly. But today, the police checkpoint is a crime scene. They'll go into the bush and get a timber log, place it on the highway the same way kidnappers will stop you. They have these very small planks that are meant to destroy your tires. It's a crime scene, and nobody's doing anything about it. And we're in a country in 2026, for God's sakes, and we just think this is normal. And when they stop you, they're not trying to stop crime. they are enhancing criminal
also
activity.
recorded some success story without trying to be speak for them in that sense. But where I'm going to with my next question will
You should have spoken about the success stories first.
Of course, we can't continue to reel out everything. Some of the botches they've done, some of the recoveries.
I just want to know so I can get updated.
Some of the recoveries they've done, but I've spoken to some persons in the military, for instance. If we go back to military and armed forces, and one of the things they complain about is prioritizing the security sector. Because I put the question across to them that Nigeria is running a budget of 2026, our budget is about $40 billion. There are countries in up north who have bigger GDP, smaller, maybe slightly the same or around the same GDP, who are spending a lot more on security. But our only just about 5.4, and they say most of this money is going to personnel costs, allegations around those personnel costs, because it's not easy to trace how it is spent because it's personnel, so it's easy. But when you do capital project, so little is left to build in capacity for equipment and all of that. So the question I want to find out from you is, wherein lies the problem here? Is it in inability, just like I asked them, inability to spend the money right, or we just don't have the money to do the kind of security architecture we're supposed to have?
No, it's mostly about their refusal to spend the money for what it's meant for. And the biggest problem within the security sector, budgeting and expenditure, is opaqueness. Because one of the things they'll tell you is that, oh, we can't disclose to you what we are spending on because we are spending on security, which is a lie. What we should find out is at the end of the year, what did we budget for and what did we spend on? The moment you can't find that, you know where money went. It went into private pockets. That is why you have most of the Nigerian Army General Security leadership who are some of the richest people in the country. There is no question about it that they are pilfering, they are looting the security sector funds. We have seen in this country, you know, former leadership of the Nigerian Air Force, Navy, all of them who became billionaires in this country. There were people who were hiding money in their soakaways and, and their tankers. So we have seen that, and it hasn't stopped. To check on these people, go into Abuja and know who are the people who are making making money in the real estate sector. Most of, who are building and investing. It's most of these generals. One of them even had Yerima, who was fighting Wike over land. You know, the naval guy who I heard is retired now. It's one of the richest guys in Nigeria. So what does that tell you? Money made for purchase of equipment, quaffed. Money made for personnel, quaffed. You know, so it goes into private pockets. And they can't defend that, and they keep asking for more, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But you must account for what has been budgeted and spent first before we start talking. Now, what did you buy? You know, and where did it go? So if you're in the police sector, for instance, and you're budgeted for vehicles, and then it ends up that it's the governor of a state that bought all the vehicles for you, then you have probably mismanaged or misappropriated monies meant for purchase of vehicles. If you're buying vehicles every year, let's say 200 vehicles for the police force, I would imagine that an average Hilux will last for 2 or 3 years, right? So 200 times 4 years would be a lot of vehicles on the highway, like police vehicles. So you ask yourself, where do they go? You know, and in some cases and in some states, you have security funds, you know, that are put together a huge amount of money to purchase vehicles, equipment, to equip police, but you don't see them. Anytime you meet a police vehicle, van in this town, you want to cry because it's always the worst that they put on the highway.
And now that the president has said we're purchasing, is it 20 plus, 24 Leonardo M346 FA fighter jets, we're expecting that. I'm sure that you probably expect some sort of relief when those things land.
You see, this is part of why I say, you know, these guys are obsolete in their thinking. If I'm president of Nigeria, I'm not buying a jet anymore.
Like a manned jet?
Yes, I'm buying unmanned area vehicles. I want to invest in
They are super
drones.
expensive. That's why I brought
They are
the issue
pretty
of fossil
expensive,
fuels.
but they are more effective because you can just have 5 persons operate 10 drones. Are you getting my point? Let me tell you, even the drones that they buy for 2,000 naira, I mean $2,000, I have 2 of them, but you know, and they get seized all the time. They can cover 4-kilometer radius, you know, within 20 minutes. That is to say, if I have 10 in Ondo State and I have operators, and I hear there is a kidnapper working in the bush, I can use that drone to at least track them for a while until the police can then conduct their cordon. It can go 4 kilometers, and there are not too many forests that are longer than, let's say, 10 kilometers in terms of thickness. And some of these small, inexpensive drones, I'm not saying that's what you should use, cost you $2,000. And if you buy 100 of them for a state, you'll be doing a marvelous job.
Well,
I'm just saying. So
obviously,
I want to go global and explain it to you. The fight between Israel and Iran has shown to you that the Air Force is on its way to retirement. You can stay in your country. You can take over my airspace, and I don't have to have a single jet.
Same with
You
Russia
can have
and
your
Ukraine.
F-35, and if I have very capable drones, I'll get to you.
Yeah, and the same with Russia and Ukraine.
So if you're still
nowadays
buying,
drones,
you know, some fancy, you know, fighter jets that you have to train people for 5 years to use, you're not likely to get replacement parts on time, you're wasting your time. That's why I said somewhere, if I'm president of Nigeria, I won't have a minister of defense. My minister of defense will be a drone, or several of them.
Interesting. And this just takes us to the next question.
Very unconventional idea.
Yes.
Very. And it talks about the politics that will then produce the policies, the governance that we're seeing right now. It is defection season. And I wonder if the AAC is accepting any defectors.
No, you see, you know, the reason I'm laughing is because I talk a lot about these gerrymanderers and carpetbaggers who are politicians, whose only stock in trade is moving from one homeless shelter to the other. And it wasn't popular in 2022 because there are people who were carried away by the Labour Party, which I described at that time as the most famous Airbnb in the world, you know. And now the people who went to the Labour Party have also moved. They have moved into another homeless shelter known as the ADC. It is not principled politics to keep moving around, to be PDP at night and the next morning you wake up, you are APC. It's opportunism, and AAC can never be involved in that. We are a party of very principled, ideological, and idealist people, and we want to change the country. We're not looking for defectors. We are looking for people who are capable of changing the narrative in this country, and we have a lot of them, but of course we are open to more. Let me just tell you, the people who are defecting to the APC, the people of Nigeria are not defecting with them. They are defecting based on their own sentiments. Some of them are defecting because they have problems. You know, they have problems with security agencies, financial crimes commissions. Some of them are defecting because they are broke. We don't have those kind of problems in the AAC.
What about those moving to the ADC?
They are also homeless politicians who are coming from, some of them will still come back to the APC. Yes.
But are Nigerians moving with them to the APC?
No, that's where it is exciting. And that's why we're calling on Nigerians, because there are 82 million registered voters officially as of now. I think there are more now, because I think INEC has added some names. So, and if you have that, and only 27 million people voted the last time, or about 30 million, give or take, you still have an excess of about 60 to 70 million people. We are comfortable with the people that haven't voted, who have not defected anywhere, but who are lacking in conviction or, you know, or interest in the political system because it's disappointing. To say, come with us, we can, you know, we can allow the defectors and the re-defectors and the deflectors to keep moving back and forth like the Nigerian bubu they call agbada. So when you carry one up, the other side drops. and we can work with the people who seriously want a country that works for them.
I think we must
and we also believe that there are people who are defecting now when they see serious political organization platforms. They will go to those ones. But what we will not entertain is the drama of defection. You know, like one of the things I hate most is to see people say, "Oh, we've moved again." They're just going to hire a crowd and they'll have a big party, and then when it's over, you discover that nobody defected anyway.
Mr. Sowore, that looks like the norm. But I must commend you for being consistent.
Yes.
For holding on to your conviction, which is what every person who wants to build democracy should have. Ideological differences should make you not to be able to go. I was studying the CCP, the China People's Party, yes. And I saw that to join that party is almost like going for your master's degree. Not any character.
The political party is like a university degree.
To join that party is, in fact, there are no guarantees, even after 5 years, that you are going to be a member of the party. But this is my concern. Yes. With strong conviction, with keeping the fight on, especially you being the front runner of the AAC, you still don't have elected officials, to the best of my knowledge, right now.
Well, that's not true, but you said to the best of your knowledge.
To the best of my knowledge, or significant, let me use the word, significant elected officials. So I'm talking maybe House of Assembly members, or the chairman of local government, and all of that. What are you doing to go beyond the way the party is now, to begin to clinch offices, knowing the dynamics of Nigerian politics? Because it looks like the Nigerian people would like to rally around people that they already see in position to be able to, you know, get into the space. Like Harada said, it is politics that now decides the policies.
Well, we have elected officials, but not to the point that I'll sit there and say I'm proud of it.
How many do you have?
You know, during off-season election this last year, there were 2 local government councillors. I'm just putting that out there, and they came from the northern part of the country, by the way. But that is not where we want to be. I agree with you. But we also don't want to be in the place that the Yorubas call the Batueyos, you know. And you
have to define that or translate that.
Yes, translated in English is an all-comers affair, because we have seen it before. It hasn't worked for anybody. If it worked, I keep saying, one of the things I was accused of in 2018 when I ran is you don't have experience. And I will say to them, including on this channel, that the people who should be the most experienced people are the people who were military presidents who had the chance several years later and became civilian, presidents. What did they give you? Death and destruction. And then, you know, what is experience in life? The experience I have is what I have been to you and what I represent. That is what they call experience. But some people take experience to mean how much suffering they have endured and how much more suffering they want to endure. That is their own practical definition of experience. So what I'm trying to say is that we're there, we are providing the opportunity for you to change course and for good. If you decide to stick with your former abusers, well, probably we can't do much about it. But we are the only political party today in this country that is doing what you mentioned earlier, political education. A lot of people have joined political party, but one of the conditions for sticking with us, for trusting you, is to undergo political education immediately after you join. So we have several groups. So I will define to you what the AAC is about.
So when should we start saying, because when I look at your party, what resonates with me is I'm seeing that the EFF of the parliament in South Africa.
Yes.
We should have your kind, or your kind of political party in the National Assembly that will be shaking the tables, as they like to call it, because that is, I'm just giving my own analogy.
So you know, I understand.
Now we don't have you, so we see you, we're not in doubt of your advocacy and your campaign. You see, every day you're fighting fighting for police, and police is fighting you and all of that.
Yes.
So we need it to be in a space where you can make decisions and it stands.
So without disregarding your position about the EFF, I don't want to shake tables, you know. I want to break tables. And that's what we're about. We're a revolutionary party. We don't want to change the country halfway and then leave the other half to the people who come and repair the tables and break your head on it. We want to completely clean out the space. And it might take time, and you realize that, and you are now accepting it as given, that we've been around long enough not to be taken as pushovers. But it might be strategic on our part that we don't want to be part of the political process in which, like the Labour Party, you have people elected in the National Assembly and the Senate, governors, and the day they got sworn in, they went and rejoined their former colony. So that's not what we are. When the change comes, they will come either by ballot or by revolution. And that's what we don't hide. The AAC is a party that introduced revolution now to this country in 2019, and we have consistently stayed course. And there was even an attempt to deregister the party. There are only 18 political parties in Nigeria. When AAC was registered, there were 79 political parties. A lot of them, you don't remember their names anymore. There are 18 today, and we are one of them, but we are the only political party that is different from the rest of them. So that's something you must know as a given. It's now up to the Nigerian people, and we can't force that to follow us to that promised land that they've always been asking for.
There's a lot more issues to raise,
Yes.
Particularly what's playing outside the country.
Yeah.
But just quickly, would you be running for president in 2027?
This is a tricky question. The party decides who runs for president.
But has that ever changed? You're the chairman of your party, and consistently you've been the presidential candidate.
The party decides who is the chairman of the party. But that's not true. I want to correct something. There was a time the party was taken over and somebody was chairman for 3 years. That's not Sowore. But most people don't remember that because they see me as the face of the party.
But consistently you've been the chairman and the presidential
That's
candidate.
what I just corrected. The party that's existed for 5 years, maybe 7 years, 2018, and this 2026.
Right.
For 3 years, somebody else was party chairman.
But for
That's
those
not Sowore.
times, you've always been the presidential candidate.
I've only run twice.
Yes.
I ran less than Atiku.
I saw this coming. No, I'm talking about the AAC now, and here's my point.
Yes.
Is anything going to be different in the AAC? In fact, when I asked you that, are you going to be receiving defectors? There was a conversation, and people said, why aren't people moving to AAC?
You don't know.
Just a second.
Yes.
Why aren't people moving to the AAC? That's also another
Maybe why aren't the popular ones?
It's not true. It's not true.
It's like maybe the context should be why aren't the popular ones?
Of course, that's why I'm speaking to the major ones. But here's the point. Because the AAC,
is
first
not
of all,
engaging in drama of defection.
I get it. But here's my point.
But more people have registered with AAC in the last 1 year than any political party. Can you believe that? That we have a website where more people
have registered.
Yes, have registered with AAC than any political party. Online.
Do you want to put a figure to that?
I can give it back, but I don't have it in front because right as we're here, people are joining. Not only are they joining, they are paying the party membership of 1,000 naira as they join.
Brilliant.
That is commitment.
Brilliant. So,
let me tell you something before you go further. That when we were asked to submit membership register in 2022, prior to the presidential election, AAC was, INEC confessed to us that AAC was the only political party that has a membership register, that has all the components, name, phone numbers. The rest couldn't produce it. Do you know what they did for the APC to get a member? INEC went and used voters registration, documentation and data to help APC create its own membership register. I have said this, they've never denied it. Because just as you are seeing them defecting up and down, you cannot find somebody at the corner registering the new members. Because this drama is just to confuse the public.
They started their e-registration.
But do you know their website? Can you tell me APC's website here?
I'll Google it.
Oh, you see.
Well,
probably it's dead.
But here's my point.
But ours is aacparty.org.
Okay.
You can register there.
You just did that free of charge, which is good.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of people who have supported you, who see you as a different brand in that sense. But there's always that concern that, what is going to happen if Sowore is a president? Just picture it. The first week of your presidency, what is it going to be like? You say you want to break the table. I am watching our table and I'm beating the
It's
table.
not this type of table.
What is the first week of a Sowore presidency going to look like?
It will be a first week of general awareness of dignity. For the first time, you feel like you're a Nigerian. for the first time, you feel like you've come to a country that has respect for you, and you find people who have come to roll up their sleeve and start working from day one. You are not going to find a Sowore presidency in which the first week you heard from nobody and you don't know where you're going. And I've said it and I'll repeat it again. My priorities are plenty from the first day. But one of it is to turn on electricity in Nigeria. It will be my first priority because it will have impact on security. Because, you know, part of our problem now is that our own idea of security is physical security. You know, how you can put a gate and, you know, gateman and all that. But the biggest and the most important part of security is social security. The moment people have food on their tables, they can send their children to school, they can get jobs, and, you know, have access to health care, they'll feel more secure than anybody else. There'll be less crime if there's electricity, by the way. There'll be less crime if our infrastructure is in place. It is unlikely that if you have a highway from Lagos to Port Harcourt that is dual carriageway, clean, has electricity, lights everywhere, that kidnapper will feel more comfortable to come on the highway, or that I have a fast train that can take you to Port Harcourt in 2 hours. Most likely, it could be derailed. I can't say it won't be, but it won't be that somebody will just go and wait with some relic they call gun and shoot at it, because that's the future. So, and when you do all this, one of the things I say about the Sowore presidency is that from day one, I'll turn Nigeria to a construction site. And if you want to work, there'll be work for you. Whether it's physical or mental work or academic work or intellectual work, you get it.
But quickly, what week would you start arresting perceived corrupt people?
The week that will start, the corrupt people will start turning themselves in from day one. Okay, nobody's going to get arrested. You just, if you know the gravity of your crime, you just turn yourself in. It's a joke, because I want us to also be serious about this, that arresting people is not nation building, right? Because you can arrest as many people as you want, and your government will just be known for arresting people and doing nothing.
All right. Yes. So let's talk about policy before we let you go. So for the record, APC has a website, a very fine website. So you can
how can you register there?
No, there is. I'm just fact checking. So join APC is here. There's a place for join APC.
Jeffrey, are you joining APC?
No.
So what's the?
Well, where did I press now? Where I've left it.
The URL, just so that he knows the URL is.
APC.something. I just showed it now.
It's APC.something.
No.
But it's there.
It's there.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that...
No, I wanted to go to my... apc.com.ng. I don't know what I went to press. So there's a place to choose. So.
You also have to figure out who owns this website.
It could be a Renew Hope agenda. But I can see updates. I can see some of the updates to see that they're
for instance, if you go on Twitter, APC used to have more than one handle. There used to be APC Nigeria.
We're talking about...
Now they say it's official APC. So now we're talking about... what I'm saying to you is that if you go to their website and register, which you haven't tried, you will know whether they...
I'm not trying to register. I'm just trying to pull out their website.
You're a journalist. You can try to register with a dummy name and see if it works. But what I was telling you is that we have a very interactive website where people have been joining, and I can provide you data to show that people have been joining the AAC. But the one that we don't engage in is the drama of defection.
No problem. So let's talk about policy.
Yes.
If there's anything that is clear about Bola Tinubu, the president, he has taken out every subsidy that can imagine. Fuel subsidy is gone. Some part of electricity subsidy. What was called defending the naira, we can translate it to subsidy in some sense, and all of these things. So when other people criticize the government, because the government says there was really no option, the economy was about to tank, so they had to take out this wage bill, and the people had to go through the pain they are going through because there's a gain in the future. That's the narrative.
Yes.
What alternative would you have done, provided, given the scenario they had met? Because it's also important we start talking about what would you have done differently.
I always love that question, and I've always answered them. What we must be honest about is that they claim to have taken subsidy But this year, I mean last year, by the end of last year, we discovered massive amount of subsidy that was provided by the NNPC in trillions. I think over 10 trillion naira was spent on subsidy. They may not have called it subsidy, but they're subsidizing the petroleum sector. And that has come out as, it's evident that they lied. And one of the reasons they told us that subsidy will do is that it will immediately bring about a different economic space, and that we'll see rising job in the job sector. We will have infrastructural development, the healthcare system will be taken care of. That hasn't happened because what happened is they took the subsidy from the poor and gave the subsidy to the rich.
Well, the states are being paid more.
Well, where have you seen the impact of the payment? Paying state money is political patronage of paying state governors who merely convert the money to dollar.
Or let me rephrase that: the states get more from
exactly.
From
How would I have acted differently? I would have kept subsidy, but I would have taken out the stealing of subsidy money, which I know how to do, because I was one of the people who revealed all the subsidy scammers while I was still actively doing Sowore Reporter under Goodluck Jonathan. I was the first, or one of the first, to reveal the $2.something billion that was stolen from the Office of the National Security Advisor to do elections in 2015, starting from 2014. So I know how to follow the money, and in doing that, we would have completely taken out the people who live off of subsidy. But in taking subsidy from the person who is just doing a small business, because you saw immediately they removed subsidy, that prices of goods and services went up, price of foods went up, poverty increased exponentially in the country. That is not policy, that is punishment. So I'm not going to be president of Nigeria who punishes people. It sounds great when they tell you the theory, but what you should ask yourself, in removing subsidy and claiming that you get more money, you lose the value of your naira. So you can have volume in terms of the numbers. You'll be hearing trillion, but what could the trillion of 2014 buy, and what could your trillion of 2026 buy? That's the question that most people don't want to ask. That's right. What they don't like to be asked. Is what did you do to the naira that you met at 400 naira? And is now at 1,430 as of today officially. But if you ask them to say, well, it has been stable,
right,
and they're not subsidizing, but I can tell you today, they're also still subsidizing the naira.
We can actually go on and on that
Yes.
conversation, because the government has spoken about this time and again, back and forth. But I want us to move beyond the happenings in Nigeria. I think we'll have a lot of time to still speak to it and talk about the global, the biggest global issue right now,
yes.
America's action in Venezuela. For a lot of people, they're saying, just allow things in the Western Hemisphere play out.
Yeah.
We are in Africa, leave us to our own. ECOWAS has released a statement. A lot of world leaders have said, we are watching the situation closely. Some have stopped short of condemning U.S. actions for a lot of reasons, right? But when you see what played out there, I know you've put out a statement about it. When you see what played out, and it's still playing out in Venezuela, how is in New York? I mean, see the images when they were just bringing the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, from the aircraft. This happened days after the airstrike in Nigeria.
Yes.
Right. In fact, the U.S. president said that this was meant to have happened in 2025, but they kept shifting it up until January 3rd of weather and all of that. Are you concerned that as much as this has a global impact, does it have a Nigerian possible impact, either remotely or not?
Oh, it does, because right now, the number of countries that were struck in 2025 Nigeria happened to be one of the prominent countries. And there's been this threat by Donald Trump against Nigerian leadership. Everything I'm saying here doesn't support the lackluster leadership here. But what I do not support is hypocrisy. And the fact that wherever America intervened, they intervene without exception for personal gain. Because I lived there for 20 years, and I can tell you that they're not here because they want to save Christians. Donald Trump is not even a Christian by any standard. I don't think the guy knows how to read a verse of the Bible. But
the professor's Christian.
But they use Christianity to fool people. my position from the beginning is that it's the leadership of Nigeria, Nigerian people that can solve their own problems, not just this exceptional intervention or esoteric intervention by Donald Trump. Donald Trump bombed Nigeria on Christmas Day. I'm still waiting here to count the dead bodies. But it is not the job of the U.S. to come and bomb your country. In fact, it's an insult for the U.S. to just wake up one day, count the number of countries they bomb and decide to add Nigeria to it. I detest that because it doesn't promote the integrity or the territorial integrity of the country. And I know a lot of people will argue that what is sovereignty? We just need help. But be careful where you get your help from. And already in Venezuela, Donald Trump has come to declare that he didn't change the regime there because he felt the Venezuelans are suffering. We want your oil, and they've been drinking our oil forever. Hasn't done any good to us. We have sacrificed Ken Saro-Wiwa to them. And I don't really care what happens to these Nigerian leaders, but I care that whatever happens here is our own doing and is not the intervention of a racist regime from the U.S. who doesn't care about. I don't think Donald Trump knows where Nigeria is located on a world map. If he put a world map in, he would probably point at South Africa and say, that's Nigeria. They don't care about you. They don't care about blacks in their own country or their own hemisphere, but they care about dominating the world. And the other thing that people must understand is that this their own low-key resumption of the Cold War. They see China entering here. They don't want China here. And if they see that any government is pro-China or pro-Russia, they want to deal with you because they want everybody to line up behind the U.S. And that's why, we always say, build your country. Because if you had a nuke, nobody will mess with you.
Yeah, of course. We don't have the balance of terror.
Yes.
We have 1 more minute to go, so you can help us. I would like your comment on the new tax law. Full implementation has started as we speak. Of course, there are so many controversies around what was gazetted against what was passed and all of that. What do you make of it?
Anybody that taxes poverty will reap resistance because Nigerians are just too poor right now. What I have always proposed is that we expand our tax base, not to increase taxes, because we're not doing well in terms of, how much taxes we're collecting. I think we're at 17%. A lot of countries around Africa are 20%. So it is that increase of how far we go that is important, not to tax the people who are already overtaxed.
But they say they're not taxing the poor. They have their data to show for it.
They don't, anytime you see data presented by these guys, just take them as statistics, lies, damn lies, and lies. So you never get anything correct from them. At the end of the day, there will be resistance. And of course, you've heard already that the tax regime that came into effect is not the one the National Assembly had passed. So a tax system that starts with fraud is not taxation, it is extortion.
Well, I'll just leave the National Assembly to do all of the defending and all of that. But
I'm not the fan of the National Assembly. Nothing will come out of their
we have to anchor now, but a statement has been released to that effect. They've even released the copies of it. But again, the onus is on the National Assembly to show us the process, and whatever was inserted by whoever should be revealed. But Mr. Sowore, we have to thank you so much for your time and for seeing you in Lagos. We hope we do this more often.
He's not been arrested.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm always available.
With Mr. Sowore, the presidential candidate of AAC in the 2023 election and the publisher of Sowore Reporters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll really give you an analysis of the events between the United States, Venezuela, and whether you call it the Western Hemisphere or the whole global hemisphere. That's in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's talk about what played out in Caracas in Venezuela. Caracas is the capital of Venezuela. As we speak, Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is in the United States to face narco-terrorism charges alongside his wife. The U.S. has always wanted him, especially Donald Trump. And now there are so many things being said about why that invasion happened. So as a quick background to Venezuela, they've been at that back and forth with the United States. They've been slammed sanctions after sanctions, especially under Nicolas Maduro after Hugo Chavez passed. And Venezuela has the highest reserve of oil. Nigeria has about 36 or 39 billion barrel of crude oil in reserve. But Venezuela has over 300, which makes it the highest. But that same Venezuela produces barely about 1 million in terms of output. Even the United States produces about 12 million barrels per day in terms of output. High in sulfur content is on one hand. The other hand is that their oil is quite thick, so it needs a lot of infrastructure, expertise, and personnel. Now, they say all of this is lacking. But what really is the reason behind this? I listened to Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. He said the pandering of Nicolas Maduro towards Iran and the issue of sending all of the criminal gangs into the United States and many other things he leveled against them. They said they gave him a chance and he didn't follow through to leave. The issue of suppression of his people, refusing to leave if he lost an election. We could go on and on and on, but people are saying behind all of this is a cold war among the big boys. Sovereignty is turned on its head right now, because if a president can be picked in his palace and taken to face justice, quote unquote, in America, then what is sovereignty? Is it no longer absolute? There's something called the Westphalian sovereignty. It's turned on its head. But let's bring in our guests who have understanding of these things to break it down for us and how it relates to all of us right here in Africa. Paul Ejime is a global affairs analyst. He joins us, as well as Mr. Femi Ojumo, a legal practitioner. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. A joyful New Year to everyone. Good morning.
All right, Mr. Paul, let me start with you, Mr. Ejime. You know, when we see these things happen, there are so many conspiracy theories. So the only way I can take maybe a handful of what to hold on to and pick what is said and what is not said is what was said by Marco Rubio. But what do you think is happening with Venezuela and the United States and the broader impact in global politics and geopolitics?
Well, you can see the confusion. I have mistaken you. I call you Kayode, but you are Geoffrey. So a lot is happening that shouldn't have, that didn't start today. It is about, you put them in different baskets. There is the micro and macro, or you break them into time things that can be linked to the past, and then immediate present, and then the future. And what am I saying?
All right, Mr. Paul, we seem to be having a holdback from your end, so let's resolve that and we'll get back to you. I don't know whether we can get in Mr. Ojumo. Mr. Ojumo is a legal practitioner. Mr. Paul was trying to lay the foundation as to the multi-layered perhaps reasons why what is happening and how to look at it broadly. But Mr. Ojumo, let me ask you the same question. What's your interpretation and the messaging of the United States as far as the capture, which happened with Panama, Manuel Nadrego, in 1989 as well, which happened, I think, in 1990?
Well, thank you very much for that question. What I see, understand of this way is that we have tending idea of the local. We have the contending principles of hegemony. What we see is a virulent determination by the United States and other actors to act it through an exceptional manner and to do that consistently. Plus, we are seeing the invocation of the doctrine of necessity on subjective terms. So there's a clash of those principles. There are four principles there. The legal order, global legal order, hegemony, exceptionalism, and doctrine of necessity. They are in conflict. So I will look at that in some more detail. But if you like, that's a headline, which I call the LHEN.
Well, it's very interesting how, new terms, not necessarily new terms, but we have to dig deep for terms to explain this. If this had happened elsewhere, take Russia and Ukraine, for example, it's clear Russia invaded Ukraine, China, Taiwan, it is quite clear the terms to use. But with the U.S. and Venezuela, even for other world leaders, particularly those who are aligned with the U.S. in one way or the other, for a lot of them we're watching the situation closely, we're watching the developments, this is very concerning. The terms have been very measured in that sense, and I really hope we have Mr. Paul Ejime back to speak to this. So Jimmy, if you can land on the point you were making, a very important point you were making, and perhaps speak to the kind of reactions we're seeing from global leaders.
Okay, let me try. I hope the hallback is still not there. But if it is there, well, it's part of the interruption of the global system. Anyway, let me say that it has to. I was talking about, the macro and micro, and then linking the past with the present, and then projecting to the future. What is happening? There are a lot of, put them in one basket. Is about here, resurgence of decline of Western and American power, resurgence of India and China, and then what you can also call reintroduction of the Cold War of the past, in a very subtle sense. What America is doing is that here we have somebody, a Trump, that is doing what many Americans are talking about in their closets, in their, murmuring. He is one person that has come out to, and that's why he finds himself very popular. But at the same time, he is also somebody who is transactional. He pretends, he hides under this umbrella that he wants to protect American interests to feather his own nest. Find out those who are in his government, his family members or friends or business partners. And that is how capitalism works. Okay, he like to have played themselves. He has had Elon Musk there. He chucked him out, and so on. This is what it has become the survival of the fittest. That is what we are having. But like I was saying, one has to do with the fact the Western Hemisphere thing. Rubio has talked about it, that they cannot have China. He didn't come out to say it that way. They can't have China and maybe Russia or India having an influence in a place where you have America. But meanwhile, they are also contradicting that because they want Russia not to have a say in what is happening in neighboring Ukraine. So the contradictions and then double standard and hypocrisy of that is playing out in geopolitics, international relations, is what is happening. And you can only survive there if you know how to play the game. If you can, play to the ego of a Trump that now sees himself as the policeman, as the commander-in-chief and of the armed forces of the world, not just America. Okay, and he's doing that with playing into what people say. You say our America. In Nigeria, he says our Christians. Meanwhile, he's somebody who, if you gave him a Bible, you remember the last time he will handle the Bible, he held it upside down. You wonder whether he actually knows where a church is, but he knows what the Americans. So he's a very, he's a strategist. Give it to him, whether it is working, and then ignore him at your own peril. So many people, you can see, what have you seen as the reaction from the West, from NATO, from European Union, EU, ECOWAS? I mean, these are their condemnations. What have they come to? really nothing, because nobody wants to annoy this emperor. And you will see what I'm saying by what the vice president to Maduro just did. Overnight, she came out to Madame Rodrigo. She came out, blasting that they must release Maduro. We are this, we are that. But she had changed. If you listen to what she said a few hours ago, she's not talking about working with America, because they know if you cannot beat Trump, you better line up with him, because he will not only humiliate you, he will make sure, and this is one other thing, he does what he says. He has said this several times, and who will watch out now? Cuba will watch out, Iran will watch out. Every leader must now be on their toe, because this is an enigma called Trump that you cannot predict, and then that is where the world is today, unfortunately.
Well, it's a very interesting development we're seeing, and you just wonder what more will play out in 2026. So, Mr. Jumu, well, President Trump has predicated this upon what he calls the Monroe Doctrine. Of course, the Monroe Doctrine from 1823 is what we're all familiar with, but he's put a Donald Trump twist to it, calling it the Monroe Doctrine, which essentially says opposites, whether you like it or not, that the United States is in charge of policing the Western Hemisphere. Right. Now, in the face of international law, I don't know if you think that is legal or not, but perhaps more importantly is if he's saying that we are in charge of the Western Hemisphere, so who is in charge of other hemispheres, particularly the one where we're in? And what does international law say about that? Because it looks like we're in extraordinary times.
Thank you very much. That's a fantastic question. I think we need to go back only 377 years to the Westphalia Treaty, which established the basis of what we call the bedrock of international law today, i.e. the principle of sovereign equality, principle of non-interference, the principle of adopting and utilizing diplomacy as the basis for the settlement of conflict. So that puts you, if you like, into tension with the hegemonic powers, the exceptionalist doctrine, and of course the invocation of the doctrine of necessity by people like Donald Trump. Now, what that means in effect within the context of international law and realpolitik is that, yes, it's one thing to have the law, the international law, it's all fancy, but then you have the dynamic of force projection, i.e. the enforcement of policy and will. There is no international body. I mean, the UN, for example, does not have a standing force. The UN acts on consensus, whether at the General Assembly or the United Nations Security Council. Now, when you have superpowers with really dominant leaders like Trump, they are going to act outside of international law. I mean, for example, Article 2 of the UN Charter, talks about sovereign equality. Article 2.7 talks about not interference in domestic affairs. But all of that, as we have seen within the last 40 hours in Venezuela, has completely been capsized. Now, that is not an exception. If we go back in time, in history, this has been, you alluded to Monroe Doctrine, whereby the U.S. was going to dominate the Western Hemisphere. Now, if we go back a bit, 80 years ago, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, under Harry Truman, that was the first time ever that the atomic bomb was utilized anywhere in the world. Okay? Now, that clearly was in breach of international law. But did anybody stop to question? No, because you can't challenge America. America's got the force projection. It will do its will. And if you like, that is an invocation of, by its very definition, of the doctrine of necessity. America will do what it deems is necessary in America's pursuit of its own strategic and foreign policy interest. So there you have it. So it's one thing to have the law, the international law. That's fine. But then you also have the hegemony principle, which is what we're seeing with the likes of Trump, which is what we are seeing with what's his name, Putin. You know, Putin invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022. And what was his reason for that? His reason for that was NATO expansion to his frontiers, and he wasn't going to have that. End of story. How do you challenge them? These are superpowers. And then we also need to look at the presidential effect of these issues. Now, what is to stop North Korea, for example, down the line, invading South Korea? Invoking the doctrine of necessity, saying, look, South Korea is perceived as a direct, current, and real threat to North Korean interests because we have just followed the precedent of what the United States have done. That's one example. What stops China, again, another example, from invading Taiwan? Because the Chinese could easily say, well, actually, this is a gross violation of our one China policy, and therefore we are following in the footsteps of the United States to act in our own strategic interest by overrunning this country. You know, so real issues there, which again begs the question of what value is the United Nations if it can't act consistent with its own principles and articles contained in the Charter of 1945, you know, about sovereign equality, non-interference, diplomacy, non-interference in domestic affairs. You know, how can you be the judge, jury, prosecutor concurrently at the same time? It raises serious issues about global legal orthodoxy, and there is no easy answer to that, which is why you find the likes of Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister, saying, well, we understand what's going on, we don't support it. They're all being very nuanced in their responses because, of course, they don't want to upset the United States. And again, we need to go back in history. You know, the Second World War.
If I may come in just a moment, if you can hear me, just a moment. Let me take you to Mr. Ejime. We've got time. Let me take you to Mr. Ejime as well. My question will be about how do we wade off being a playing field for this whole, what do you call it, the Cold War in geopolitics in that sense? He had talked about the fact that, look, the issue of sovereignty, sovereign equality is just out of the woods. Literally, I did mention the Westphalian sovereignty issue. Look at what is going on. It looks like the one with the might is always right. So there are even fears, as is mentioned, to the effect that there may be escalation in Ukraine. There may be escalation in Taiwan because everybody is holding their ground. And then we don't know what's going to happen with France in some other part of the world. But of interest to us as Nigerians is how do we wade off being a playing field for these big boys when we can stand up to?
Well, it's to get our act together, Geoffrey. And how do we, from, you know, the domestic governance systems that are in place, some say democracy is not working, whatever, but can't we, even in our, with our forefathers, that settled their quarrels on Palava Hut, in you know, elders having a say in when two communities are having issues. I think we are losing that, and that we have to go back to that area. In Mali, they have Toguna, a shade, you know, where when there is a problem, people go to the hut, a small hut, no matter how tall, you have to bend. That is to subject yourself to the decision that will be taken at that hut, that nobody should be higher, nobody should be mightier. I think that is what it calls for now. And that was why, even to him, elder statesman Yakubu Gowon, remember that after the Nigerian Civil War, he went on what you call visit to neighboring states because he noticed that even the foreign powers didn't help much. Of course, some wanted the division of Nigeria. Many could not even support Nigeria to really, you know, finish the war the way they wanted. So he went on that. So what we are now asking for is this concentric circle of interest, of diplomacy, notice that one, it was not it right from the beginning, from governance at home, and then go around our neighbors to have, because your neighbor is your greatest security man. We have security concerns all over the place. Good, yes. There was an issue in Benin. Who went? It was Nigeria. Whether it was instigated by France or whatever, Nigeria went, and that has been, temporarily put on hold. What am I saying? From there, that was why ECOWAS was set up. It's unfortunate that ECOWAS is not working today. Why? Because Nigeria has failed to come to the table to provide leadership. That is why ECOWAS, because ECOWAS is Nigerian baby. If you are now able to get that regional, plan or regional workability, you can, before you go to continental. AU is on his own, just hanging in there. Not to talk about UN that Femi talked about. So we need to come back to the basics. Let it work from the family level to the village, community, and then the nation. And so before you now go to your neighbor, I call it the concentric, policy or method of governance. That is where I think we will go before the whole flood swallows everybody.
Mr. Jomo, well said, Mr. Jomo. And when you mentioned AU, I was laughing. I was just smiling because it looks like sometimes AU looks like an elders forum meeting to me. When I see some of the people that gathered at AU, and I saw them release a statement as to what exactly, how far would that go. But it looks like the issue of the League of Nations is beginning to fail time and again. Maybe there's a new world order that we're not admitting is here, or maybe we need to redesign this and see what the future holds for all of us so that we all have a stake on the table. But gentlemen, we wish you have more time, that you've made very strong points. Mr. Femi Ojomo, thank you so much, a legal practitioner joining us, as well as Mr. Paul Ejime, Global Affairs Analyst. Gentlemen, we appreciate you, and we'll have to call on you as much as we see these things keep happening around our world. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you for having us. Happy New Year again.
Okay, well, that's it. We just for the laughs. I call it just for the laughs because, this is a very serious year. The tax laws are there, and it's causing a lot of controversy. In fact, the more the people in charge of this tax explain, the more people don't understand and are asking questions. But, Nigerians will look for a way to make, fun out of every situation. So we saw this on the social media, and we just felt we should put it out there just for the laughs. So the first one, if our producer can put it up for us, I said FRSC in 2026, with Taiwo's face there, FRSC in 2026, you made over 100 transactions this month, and they were all gifts. Are you Father Christmas? This is just what you laugh.
First off, let's say it's going to be NRS in 2026, so no more FIRS.
No, it is NRS.
Yes.
It's been NRS.
No, I'm saying at the end of the year, it's going to be the NRS asking you. So from the very first of this year, it's changed from FIRS to NRS. But more importantly is... and it leads us to that point about narration. I know a lot of people have said you have to put the proper narration, but it's not a basis for taxation. Let's just be clear about it.
So there's one with narration. Right?
That's the point we're going to now.
There's one with narration. Our producer will put it on so that we can, if we can see that one with narration. So if you see the narration, at the narration, he sent this guy 2,000. He said, he begged me 2K, say he won't chop. He begged me 2K, say he won't chop. I beg, no collect tax.
So let's reiterate. Yes, it's important to put narrations, right? So you know what you're spending your money on. But you see, Mr. Taiwo Idili has said, no need for narrations in bank, transfers. The government won't debit your account, at least, except the extraordinary cases, and he has to go through the procedure of law. So yes, it's great to put narrations, but come on, this is out of this world. And it is also not true. I have read part of the law, section 61, section 41. For the FRS to distrain you, NRS to distrain, that means seize your property so that you pay taxes. The process is long. Right. It can take all the way to the Supreme Court. They can't just come pick your money. If you can object. Absolutely. And say, after the objection, if they insist and you say you don't agree with them, you go to court, all the way to the Supreme Court. And even when you go to the Supreme Court and you lose the case to NRS,
and NR is disposing your property, they'll still need the court order to dispose that property. And if they seize property, what, say, you're owing them, say, 200 million, and they sold the property for, say, 500 million, and they paid everything they're supposed to pay for keeping it and collecting their taxes, that balance, they have to send it back to you in 90 days. Acquaint yourself with the law.
Yeah.
The law is not perfect, let me be clear. There are so many things that will be difficult to implement, but there are some good parts as well. Absolutely.
So that is our show for today, Monday, January the 5th, 2026, the very first Monday in the year. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.